Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Cauldron. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon, at least for a bit longer before I move on to do anything else. Because for next month, I have some other ideas of what I want to talk about on this channel other than just Disney. But just giving that ahead of time so you know. But for this video, of course, I'm going to be talking, about movies, of course. So there's going to be another top 10 list because I like doing these videos and I feel like, you know, doing one of them this time. I don't do them that often, really. Also, it's my channel and I do whatever I want with it. But yeah, the top 10 list I'm going to be doing right now is going to be pretty much centered around the idea of top 10 Disney films that received a negative reaction from folks, despite the fact that it was highly successful in the box office. Just because these films made a lot of money, doesn't necessarily mean that reviews were positive. And so basically, that's the idea here. And they're not going to be in any particular order and whatnot. Just as long they got a negative reaction, and yes, they have to be actually good movies, despite what people said. So, yeah, they're not gonna be in any order. They'll be from any director, from any time. And it's not gonna be restricted with one era of Disney, of course. And it doesn't have to be animated, but it can be, but not limited to animation. It can be live action as well, regardless of genre and regardless of who directed it, like I just said. But yeah, that's basically the key component here. They have to be good movies, and it just got a negative response from a lot of people, not just a few people or several people, but a lot of people. Enough to make some sort of noise. And yeah, for this list, I'm not gonna go into every little detail, of course, but I will bring up a few things because there's plenty of things for each video, for each list. I'd like to give enough detail, of course, but some of these topics I've already discussed before in more detail. So, excuse me if I don't bring up every little thing in this video, just so you know. So, I could bring up some of these other topics in future videos, maybe if I feel like it, but anyway, with that being said, let's just dive right into this, shall we? So, here we go. Yes, sirree. So, yeah, folks. Uh, yeah. At number 10, Star Wars The Force Awakens. This definitely got negative feedback upon release in the theaters, even though the film is actually quite good actually. But that didn't stop the fan base from claiming that it's a feminist movie that's trying to make boys look bad. And their supposed evidence is of course the character Rey, whom they also claim to be a Mary Sue. Which is obviously a stupid claim. Of course, this didn't stop with the fan base. No, this went even further than that. Because according to many religious folks, like one for example, son Kevin Swanson complained that these films aren't doing nothing but destroying society. Because of feminism. While others just criticize this film just because using the whole gender swap kind of a thing to only go on and just make money on that. Apparently Disney Corporation only care about money. And this, of course, was brought up again multiple times when it comes to capitalism at its most arrogant, which is, of course, a lie. But because apparently this film is a remake, which, again, it's not, though. It's not. Why other people could take it a step further and just say that this movie is lousy just because it was directed by a Jewish director. Well, that sounds anti-Semitic. Because apparently Jewish people are running Hollywood and they're trying to ruin everything, apparently. While others would just claim that just because you have a character like Finn, apparently this movie has a conspiracy theory to kill all white people, which of course is not. No, that's not the case. It's not about genocide. A lot of people said this film was about genocide for Caucasians specifically. Uh, no chops. Why others like this guy over here claims that Disney ruined his childhood because of the gays and whatnot. Alright. Okay, this just wow. Alright people, alright. Mega number 9 is of course Frozen. I know you might be thinking, well, it made a lot of money. What are you talking about? Again, just because the movie's successful doesn't mean it only receiving hate, which it did a lot. I won't be speaking too much into that because I've spoken about this quite a few times before, but one of the biggest things that comes up is from churches that the possibility of the LGBT themed stuff being processed in this film apparently because they think this film is going to attack family values because of that. And according to a certain Kevin Swanson, it's about bestiality. Yeah, apparently this film is promoting sex with animals. And then a certain prime minister in Italy wanted to make sure that the film doesn't get made. What I'm talking about is Frozen 2. Yeah, he wanted to make sure that Frozen 2 won't get made because of this. And then others will just claim that really being hyperbolic and say it's one of the worst films ever made, even though it's not that bad. And then trying to say something about bland characters or something about lip syncing not matching up, and it just slock and done nothing about pretty visuals. Just like The Force Awakens, this was bombarded with bad reviews, even though it was nowhere near that bad either. But of course, it didn't just stop at that, of course. No, no, no. It continued even further because even Fox News took a stab at this film because apparently Frozen is trying to make men look weak just because it has two female leads. And yeah, of course, it continued even further by having the fans say that this film was inspired by social justice warriors, the feminist movement, the woke culture, and yeah, just really, really outlandish claims that this film had against it, which of course makes no sense like whatsoever. Non-Disney fans and non-religious people even took issue with this film just again for having two female leads because apparently having two women as the main characters in this movie somehow he's trying to make men look like bad people, which was not the case. So apparently this film was trying to make all men look like the villains. And number 8, The Black Cauldron. Yes, I know. When a lot of people bring this up, it's often on the top 10 worst films ever produced by Disney. And again, I have to say that's a bit of a way, way bit of an exaggeration here. I liked it, yes. It was definitely one of the first Disney animated films to receive a PG rating. And also, one of the first films to be a bit more darker compared to other movies that they made at the time, but it opened with mixed reviews, with critics voicing disapproval of its dark nature and its disjointed writing. Although the animation and soundtrack was also praised quite a bit, but at the time, it's one of the most expensive films ever made. However, it was a box office bomb, grossing just over $21 million against a budget of $44 million. So, yeah, pretty much putting the future of Disney's animation department on jeopardy. So, yes, of course, it can be considered as a commercial failure. So, the Disney was so ashamed of this film that they did not release the film on home video until 1998 even though the film was released in theaters in 1985. So, yeah, ouch. So, yeah, a lot of people didn't like this film, but honestly, folks, I actually thought it was quite good. I thought it was the exact opposite. Maybe I'm a minority in this, I guess, but I like the characters. They're lively in their own way. Yes, yes, it's darker compared to some of the other films that they have produced. Sure, I'll give you that. But that in itself isn't necessarily bad. This was like that. This is not the only time that Disney had touched a dark subject matter. Yet everybody is acting like it was the only time that it actually did, which makes no sense when you actually think about it. But okay, whatever, people, whatever you say, I suppose. Yeah, sure. Number 7 is the original Alice in Wonderland. And yes, the film underperformed at the box office and was considered to be one of Disney's biggest flops at the time. And apparently for various number of reasons, and of course, Walt Disney himself had to publicly apologize when he was alive for the failure of this movie. So, yeah. A lot of people felt that the character of Alice wasn't sympathetic enough. But, yes, okay, sure, the film did later become a cult classic among people. And the film eventually did become a box office hit in theatrical re-releases over time. And, but yeah, it was later, sure, ranked as one of the Disney's best films of all time. But despite this, it just couldn't escape some controversy, as some people felt that this film was inspired by illegal drug use for one of the things, because apparently this movie had that kind of thing all going on and whatnot. And yes, even the whole thing with pedophilia. Because a lot of people believe that the original author of the books of Alice in Wonderland, yeah, there were more than one, they accused him of being a pedophile. So they believe that Walt Disney himself was perfectly okay with this and just continued to make a film adaptation of this movie. I mean, granted, this was not the first attempt. There were quite a few attempts prior to this official film production. There were multiple attempts to bring this film to life. So it took about roughly 20 years for this film to actually get made. So Disney himself was, you know, desperately wanting to make this film. But unfortunately, it just got some heat nonetheless, as a lot of people would just come up with their own strange conspiracy theories surrounding this film. It's all made up, of course. It's all lies. But yeah, it happened anyway, unfortunately. But there's that, I guess you can say. So, people these days. Seriously. At number 6 is the film titled Brave. Yeah, this film was pretty much slammed with bad reviews right from the start. A lot of people would say that this movie doesn't really have any substance, really. The visuals is probably the best part of it, and that's about it. The overall plot seems to be strange and odd pacing and whatnot. Maybe uh have a political agenda with its political correctness or something like that. And yeah, trying to say this movie is dull as dirt and whatnot. So, which all of which I do have to disagree with, and claiming that these characters are just nothing more than just archetypes, and that's it. They're not well delivered. A lot of them felt flat and not very well delivered in a lot of ways. Again, which I have to disagree with, of course. And yes, of course, there's the whole bit where, yes, this film does have a witch in it. And a lot of people aren't comfortable with having witches in their animated films directed towards family. And another thing is that having the main character, Merida, be a rebellious young person didn't suit well a lot of people, considering the fact that women are supposed to be submissive. And another thing is that even if a lot of people don't believe having women to be submissive, they still took an issue with this kind of character trait nonetheless, anyway, because she's rebelling against her mother. And yeah, disrespecting your parents is a bad thing, even though in this film, this movie never stated the fact that you should disobey your family. It wasn't saying that. I mean, yes, she is rebellious, sure, I'll say that, yes, she is. But a lot of people didn't like the fact that there was such a strong conflict between the mother and daughter. And yeah, a lot of people view that as a bad thing because they view the character to be really annoying because of this. And I mean, a lot of young people you tend to be rebellious anyway, but this seems to be like viewed as a bad character trait on her part, apparently. How dare you disrespect the authority of a parent? How could you? All the bad things that happened in her life was completely and utterly her fault because she was disrespecting her mother. I mean, I don't think that was the case, but sure, whatever. And a good amount of rebellion is healthy, you know. But another thing is that they seem to get in this film's case is the fact that she doesn't have a love interest, like, at all. If anything, she actually was against having a suitor. And that got a lot of people's nerves too because they took this as a political thing. Like, she might be a lesbian. And so, yeah, they took an issue with that too. So a lot of people did not like this movie just because of that. At number 5, Star Wars The Last Jedi. Oh, it makes on this list again. A good chunk of this is because of the fact that the fan base been really toxic, of course, claiming that it's one of the absolute worst films of all time. And also stating the fact that Disney had pretty much permanently ruined Star Wars, and thinking that there's no form of that could ever fix this up and whatnot. It's a disgrace to the entire franchise and whatnot. And a part of it, again, is a part of the fact that it's supposedly part of this woke culture, apparently. And yes, of course, we're going to bring up feminism because, again, yep, as you can already guess yourself, it's a character of Rey. Trying to claim that she knows it all, she's perfect at everything all the time. If anything, she's just nothing more than a wish fulfillment. There's no interesting characters in this film, like, whatsoever. That's a complete lie. And I'm pretty much also trying to basically say that this film just did what The Force Awakens did, but took a step further by making all the stories that came before it, the all the books and whatnot, make it non-canon anymore, which makes no sense because a lot of material that this film is based upon is actually from canon. So I don't know what they're talking about. And okay, maybe it's a bit butchered, sure, I'll give you that, but that doesn't mean the film itself is bad. And but yeah, I still liked it anyway. There's a lot of moments I did enjoy. And I mean, okay, maybe it's a little contrived, sure, and it's probably my least favorite of the three, but it's still a good film. I mean, yeah, it's no Citizen Kane, it's no Godfather, sure, but it's nowhere near that bad as they claim it to be, of course, and whatnot. But it's still a good movie. I enjoyed it. But of course, also didn't stop a sort religious individual to claim that this film is anti-family, is anti-God. Again, just for having a female lead. Apparently, society is going to fall apart just because of movies like this, and Disney is helping to destroy society by the fact that it's part of a satanic cult, and this film is evidence of this somehow. Oh, okay. I mean, he was not the only one to say this kind of a thing. There was plenty of other religious individuals who felt the same exact way. Again, it just boils down to that the main character is a woman, and that's it. That's it. Just go down to that and nothing more. And a lot of people say that the movie is boring, is maybe too long for its own good, which I have to disagree with. I like the characters. I thought it was pretty exciting in some little way, despite the naysayers, I guess you can say. So, but altogether, this was a pretty fun ride as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sticking to that. And I might not be the biggest Star Wars fan ever because I'm not, but I liked it nonetheless. I thought it was a real constructive film despite its faults. I thought it was enjoyable. I do highly recommend it. I just don't listen to people who say negative stuff about it. It's still a good movie. Come on. And number 4 is Star Wars: The Rise of the Skywalker. Basically the same complaints over and over again. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but like I said earlier, I'm not going to bring up every little thing because this video would be much longer. Maybe I'll bring it up in a future video, maybe. But again, from the toxic fans, it seems usually it's the male fan base of the Star Wars toxic fan base that should be complaining about this. Oh, Rey's Mary Sue. She's perfect. She's all these powers. Oh, and whatnot. But even though previously, before Disney bought the rights, they already used female characters in a lot of their major storylines and whatnot. So, yeah, that has been done before. So, it just strikes me as odd that this is something they're going to complain about. They have very strong Jedi characters in the Star Wars lore, and I'm pretty sure there's quite a few of them that might be even more powerful than she is. So, Yeah, they had female characters before that are highly skilled in combat. But now it's a problem? Now it's an issue? All of a sudden. Okay, this seems weird. But of course, and the complaint about Kylo Ren, he's just nothing more than just a whiny emo kid, and that's it. Oh, flat characters, they're not interesting and whatnot. And of course, they're gonna go on and complain about the fact that Luke Skywalker has been ruined and whatnot, which is ridiculous. It's a ghost Jedi power thing or whatever you call it. It's not that kind of a thing before in the lore, and that's another thing they will complain about. This that the lore has been butchered, which they didn't because they got a lot of inspiration from the books themselves and whatnot. So it just seems like it's just trying to pick at this just because it was created by Disney. That's it. And that's another thing to complain about. That they complain about the fact that the Disney is just using this franchise just to milk it to death. And I went farther to say that these films are actually worse than the prequel trilogy. Well, I mean, that kind of goes down the middle in some ways. Some say that the prequel trilogy was good, and they just ruins it, while other people would admit that the prequel trilogy is bad, and just say the sequel trilogy is even worse than it, acting as if this was the final nail in the coffin for the franchise. So ultimately, the third and final installment of this sequel trilogy was pretty much ruined the franchise as a whole, even farther down to the ground, I guess you can say. It's just nonsensical, obviously, but I have to admit that I believe that the sequel trilogy is is actually superior to the prequel trilogy. Yes, I realize I might have just raised some eyebrows by just saying those words alone, but I really don't care. This is my video and I do what I want with it. Again, I was never a big fan of these films to begin with, but I can see what they were trying to do, of course. Again, I don't think this film is perfect by any means. Yes, I have some complaints here and there, sure. There's some bits and pieces that I felt like they could have been much better, yes. But you can say that for almost every movie. Not that I'm trying to, gloss over the flaws of this film or anything. Don't get me wrong. But, again, it's not that terrible a film like they claim it to be, like whatsoever. At number 3, yeah, a Star Wars story, Han Solo. Always a Han Solo Star Wars story. You know what I'm talking about, this movie. And yeah, this made on the list because a lot of people really seem to hate this movie as well. And apparently, according to a lot of, again, the fans and other critics claim that this film was just a drag to watch. And went on to say maybe it's a good show, but a terrible movie. Whatever that means. But yeah, and a lot of people say it looks nice, but there's no substance really, like at all. And it's pretty shallow apparently, bearing up to sequels that never came and whatnot. Another complaint I heard about this film is that it's playing lip service to the woke culture, and of course doing the same thing to the social justice warriors, and of course to the feminine Nazis. Two of those three groups I just mentioned. All that this movie is trying to do apparently is just kiss their asses, allegedly, by having a strong woman and whatnot. I'm making the one of the characters be bisexual or something. But but yeah, we're going on this whole route again for some bizarre reason. And it was anyway as far as to say that this movie is promoting gun violence, just because the character Han Solo is holding one of his weapons in the posters. So yeah, it's promoting gun violence apparently. But okay, so it's too violent according to them. It's a space adventure. Of course, it's gonna be violent, but that doesn't mean it's doing that at all. But yeah, it just surprises me. Okay, maybe not really. It just find it amusing to some extent that they would go to some far lengths to just bash these movies just because it's Star Wars that was created by Disney. So everybody's acting as if it's the next hit thing to do, and it's the next trendy thing to do, just to bash these films, basically on the fact that Disney made them. That's it, and that's it. Just because these movies were directed by the Disney company, which of course is ridiculous. why Han Solo isn't really my favorite Star Wars movie, like at all. But I still liked it. I still thought it was a good movie, nonetheless. It has its moments. I thought it was pretty creative and exciting, pretty cool. And yeah, it's a good movie. And I say it's definitely well constructed, unlike what the other people would say. But okay, whatever. Yeah. Making a number two, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It just seems that the Disney Star Wars films can't catch a break whatsoever. I mean, okay, granted, this was the one that a lot of people had the least complaints about, but that didn't exactly stop it from people complaining about it. So, some of the complaints were it was too dark, it didn't exactly have a happy ending, the overall tone was pretty depressing, it was like a bittersweet kind of a thing, it was really violent, it was too gruesome, too grim, too sad, too dark, and a certain president, I should say, okay, a former president anyway, was offended. At the very least, his supporters were anyway, because a lot of people had accused this film for being a liberal propaganda. And of course, apparently, the Democrats want to destroy anything enjoyable in cinema. And this film was supposedly evidence of this because the movie was trying to suggest that Trump himself was supposed to be the part of the empire. That's not what the movie is trying to do, like at all. But hey, like the old saying goes, if the shoe fits, right? But anyway, nonetheless, this got some controversy nonetheless because a lot of people didn't like this film. I mean, I personally liked it. That was pretty good, even though yes, it was pretty grim in a lot of ways and whatnot. And it was attempting. It was at least it was attempting, I should say, to finish some of the plot holes. I guess you can say that came out as it sets before the original trilogy. I guess you can say and whatnot. So I'll give credit when credit's due. At least trying to cover up some of the story holes. I suppose that the original trilogy didn't cover really. So it's been used as a form to build a story around this kind of a thing. And none of the original cast of characters appear except for what, maybe a few cameos from Vader and previous men. That's about it. For about 90% of the time, it's just a totally original cast of characters, at least in the movie form anyway. And some of this stuff was explored in the expanded universe, but at least for the movies, you didn't see these characters. Again, aside from a few cameos here and there, that's about it. Otherwise, this is a whole new cast of characters, which I was fine with. And a lot of people didn't feel comfortable with that. A lot of people didn't like the fact that you didn't really see a lot of familiar faces. It didn't bother me. It was just an attempt to expand the universe, at least in movie form anyway, to talk about some things and discuss some things that the franchise, at least in movies anyway, didn't go to. So, breaking new grounds, but sort of anyway. So there's that, I suppose. Alright, before I go to the number one spot, I'm want to bring just a few honorable mentions. So let's just do this part real quick, folks. So the first honorable mention, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, for making religious people look bad and for being sympathetic towards somebody that's disabled. And then for the second one is Tangled, for making Rapunzel rebel against her fake mother. Why is this a problem? I don't get it. And then for the other third honorable mention is Something Wicked This Way Comes, for being for far too dark for a Disney movie. Why is this a complaint? And then for the fourth one, honorable mention is the original Tinkerbell, for not having enough diversity and for sexualizing Tinkerbell. Making number one is Frozen 2. Yeah, I know, what a shocker. Yeah, a lot of people seem to think, okay, since it's highly successful, it must not get that much criticism. Oh, it sure did. Not because it's a bad movie, it's actually a really good film, but a lot of people complain about the fact that it's again going extremely woke. It's too woke for a princess movie. As they talk about gender roles, to treat both genders equally, and of course it was actually accused for speaking about white feminism, as if this kind of thing exists in the context of these movies. Apparently, he's trying to one up the original film by talking about diversity. I mean, okay, yes, the film did have a diverse cast of characters, that is true, but this does not mean it was trying to imply some sort of thing. I was trying to was intentionally trying to criticize the first movie, which it wasn't. But yeah, a lot of people took this as a way the film was trying to have some underlying messages when it comes to white feminism, as if only Caucasian women have a thing or two to say about this kind of thing for women's rights. That's not a thing. That's not a thing in the movie. Ugh, stupid. Of course, the whole thing with the pants, that's technically tights, but another thing a lot of people seem to get in this film is that the fact that Elsa will pants when they're actually tights is that somehow this film is trying to say something against sexism in Hollywood. And a lot of people seem to believe that this film was trying to counter the sexism in princess movies, even though sexism in the princess movies never really existed, really, but they just assumed it was about that. So a lot of people took the fact that these characters may be wearing pants or tights or whatever as if it was trying to counter the sexism in Hollywood. Yeah, talk about looking way too much into it. And while others, again, just looking for the first film, a lot of people wanted to give Elsa a girlfriend, which was countered by these religious individuals whom thought this film was anti-family. And as if gay people don't have a family of their own. Alright. So yeah, this kind of thing became extremely controversial among religious folks over again, which yes, I did discuss before. So excuse me if I just glance over quite a bit of it because again, this is something I've spoken about quite a few times in my YouTube channel. So I made separate videos for that kind of a thing. Will I discuss this kind of a thing again later? Maybe. But this is just one of many, many problems that people came up with against the film. Even though these problems are just non-existent when you think about it. And And yes, a lot of people assumed if you liked the first film, you were racist because all the characters are light-skinned. They're taking Norwegian, but okay, just because they're light-skinned does not make them Caucasian. And if they were, so what? Again, they're Norwegian, so a lot of people thought there was some sort of underlying theme in the first film, and then the second movie was trying to counter that very thing. Because apparently the people behind this film were listening to the criticism for the first film and made this film as a counter response kind of a thing to, I guess, for, what do you call that? Oh yeah, damage control kind of a thing going on. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. This entire thing's just ridiculous. People assume this kind of thing. Therefore, there are a lot of people that this was inspired by social justice warriors and the whole woke culture thing I was mentioned earlier, and it's feminazis. Pretty much, this is what's going on here. That's not the case here, but okay. Therefore, a lot of people assumed that this was a pile of garbage just because of that. I mean, yeah, a lot of people said that this was the worst film that they ever seen for that year of 2019. Again with the hyperbolicness. Oh boy. Alright, folks. I guess that's it for now, I guess you can say. I mean, there are other movies like this, similar to this, I want to mention, of course, but this video is already long enough as it is. And I figure I'll just do a fairly lengthy video. Yeah, it's almost 40 minutes. So, like I mentioned earlier in the very beginning of the video, I'm going to use this as a way to take a break from Disney. And yeah, I would take a break from Disney after this. And I just thought I'll make this list as a way to defend these films. I guess you can say, because I do enjoy these films. I mean, okay, sure, I like a few more than others, okay, but still, I just wanted to use this as a way to defend Disney and defend these films. And before anyone says anything, even though probably people are just going to dismiss what I said anyway, I just say I'm just going to cover it up. I was not paid by Disney, okay? I was not paid by Disney to do this list. I was not paid by Disney to do any of these videos. I did it on my own free will because I wanted to. I felt like it. I did it on my own decision. But I know people won't believe me anyway. I thought I'd just throw that out there, of course. But yeah, after this video, I'm just gonna take a break from Disney for a little bit, and I'm not sure when I'll get back to it. But I'll make sure not to take too long to get back to it. I'm just gonna take a short break, at least for a little while. At least for a little while, then I'll get back to Disney because there's other stuff I would like to review. Of course, if I'm gonna be honest, there's quite a few other things I like to review. So yeah, just keep that in mind, folks. There's other things I like to talk about on this channel. I'm gonna do a bunch. I have a bunch of more reviews in mind when it comes to different genres, different directors, and from different companies. But eventually, yes, I'll get back to Disney. Sooner or later, folks. Sooner or later, I'll get to it. But I'll make damn sure I won't take too long to get to it. I don't know. At least, at the very least, I'll avoid. To try attempt to avoid that. I guess you can say. But yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of Disney stuff on time, but there's a lot of Disney stuff I'd like to speak about. There's a lot more movies I want to review, a lot more shorts, a lot more stuff, and whatnot. But yeah, it's not that I'm running out of stuff to do with Disney. It's not the case. If anything, I have the exact opposite problem, really, because I maybe have too much to do at once. Which is why I like to take, breaks from talking about Disney because so I can just, talk about some other stuff. I could have easily just stretched this for the rest of the year if I wanted to. That's how much stuff of Disney I have. I could easily just do this for the rest of the year of 2021 if I wanted to, which I could easily could. So it's not that I don't have enough material for, for these videos. Don't get me wrong, I have plenty. So I just want to just do some other stuff. Just give Disney a break. I just don't want to make it seem like I'm like the one guy on YouTube that's solely talking about Disney stuff. Even though I could easily could. I could easily do that. I mean, I'm aware I could easily do it very easily. But I just don't want to. So it's want to be just that one thing, is what I'm saying. And nothing against Disney. I know I've criticized Disney before for certain things when it comes to the movies. But it's usually that with the remakes and bad sequels they would, do all their terrible original channel movies that they constantly make. If anything, I'll probably criticize for some of that, I guess you could say. But yeah, there's definitely plenty of other stuff I like to talk about in this channel. There's definitely some other stuff I like to share with you guys. But I didn't notice that a lot of people seem to like my Disney videos because I didn't notice that people speak about something. And if anybody got any suggestions, feel free to bring it up. I'll bring it up in my next Disney-a-thon. If there's maybe some topics you guys want me to talk about, let me know in a comment section. Think of it like me trying to interact with you folks, like many of my subscribers, or if anybody that stumbles across this video, even leave a comment, just asking me maybe just a certain thing I want you think I should discuss, whatever. Let me know. I don't mind. I'll just be really honest with you, of course. Oh boy. Yeah, I've been around for quite a while, folks. Yes, sir. Anyway, I'm just rambling on this point. As always, thanks for watching, and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah. Later.